Hey, it's Julia from CityCast Portland. When I'm not producing the show, you'll find me watching live music all around town with a beer in my hand. So McMenamin's Grand Lodge second annual Brewfest is just my speed. They have some of the region's best beverages from McMenamin's and beyond, and are hosting killer local bands for only $30 a ticket. Saturday, June 1st in Forest Grove, they'll be serving over 40 taps of beer and cider, plus wine, spirits, and cocktails. And you can see sets from Federale, the Chivas, and Rosalinda. So if you're 21 and older, go buy your ticket at mcmenamins.com right now. You're not going to want to miss it.
You know, we all know Portland is a city of neighborhoods, all with their own identities and quirks, and that can make it really easy to stay within your own zone and not really explore other parts of the city. So today on CityCast Portland, we're continuing our neighborhood guide series where we talk with Portlanders about the good, bad, and ugly of where they live. And this time, we're talking about the enigmatic neighborhood that is Montavilla. Is it in Northeast? Is it in Southeast? Nobody knows. But joining us is Bryan Vance, CityCast Director of Digital Strategy. He's lived in Montavilla for about 3 years, and he's not only sharing his neighborhood's secret borders, he's also prepared some fighting words for anyone who thinks their area's farmers market can compete with Montavilla's. It's Wednesday, May 22nd. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. We jokingly call you Bryan of Montavilla on the show because it feels that, like, much like me, you have a lot of pride in your neighborhood. You've also come on and talked about, you know, very specific issues of where you live. But I do remember, like, the very, very first time that you were on, Julia, the producer, and I, we were so confused. Like, we had a hard time figuring out if you were actually in Southeast or Northeast, or if we should introduce you as Northeast, you know,
right,
Portlander, or a Southeast Portlander, because we looked at Montavilla and we were just like, it's both?
What is it?
Like, so before we get into specific locations, do you just want to name the boundaries of Montavilla and what, like, people consider Montavilla?
Yeah. So let me just preface this with, like, it's a little bit complicated.
Okay.
There's two boundaries that are pretty simple. So the eastern boundary of the neighborhood is I-205. Then it runs along Division. So that is the southern boundary of the neighborhood over to Southeast 76th Avenue. And this is where things start to get a little bit weird. Is it snakes up along Southeast 76th Avenue all the way to Burnside, and then it jogs further west and goes further north along Northeast 68th Avenue, where it runs all the way up to the southern end of 84 and then back over to 205. It's weird. It basically looks like a giant backwards capital P, or like a flag that's, you know, maybe facing an odd direction. It's a kind of funky shaped neighborhood for sure.
Would you call yourself the East Side little brother of Coley?
I think that's a really great way of looking at it. They're both like two of the bigger neighborhoods geographically, two of the most diverse neighborhoods, and they're actually, you know, fairly close. They're also two neighborhoods that straddle Southeast and Northeast, and it's like it can get a little bit confusing. And one of the weird things about Montavilla is because it is like this big neighborhood, I'll meet people who live in a different part of the neighborhood, and it actually sometimes feels like they live in a different neighborhood because the places they hang out are a little bit different than the places I hang out.
I was going to say, yeah, do you personally, Bryan, feel like you live in Northeast or Southeast, like in your heart?
I'm 100% Southeast. I am a Southeast Montavilla resident. Yeah.
I feel like that's an important distinction in Portland. Like, if you're new around here and you're listening to us and you're like, what the hell are they talking about? By the end of the year, you're going to be like, no, I live in North Portland.
It's a flag that you bear. Yeah. I 100% am Southeast Portlander, but first and foremost, a Montavilla resident.
All right, well, now that we know where you live and how confusing it is, give me your best Montavilla pitch. Like, what do you love about living there?
So Montavilla is this cool neighborhood that has, like, it's just like a mix of a bunch of different things. So it feels very much like it's part of a city. It also feels suburban at times. It feels, you know, like sophisticated and fancy and also a bit grimy and run down. Incredibly diverse. Like, we just have tons of immigrant-owned businesses here. Just a really cool mix of types of businesses here too. It's not, you know, some neighborhoods are very like tourist heavy, like it's a bunch of restaurants and bars and stuff. we have some like industrial type businesses here. We have, things that you won't find in most Portland neighborhoods. And it's just a really beautiful, weird, funky neighborhood with lots and lots of things to do here.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I first discovered it, I discovered it like Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
It's just because I went too long on Burnside and I was like, there's more.
There's more. It just keeps going.
Montavilla, that should be the tagline. Montavilla, there's more.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we should tell the neighborhood association about that.
So, okay, where would you take someone new to the area? Give me 3 picks.
Okay, so one of the important things to know about Montavilla is like in a lot of neighborhoods, there's like one core downtown area. Montavilla actually has several, which can make it a little bit confusing when you're trying to get around. But so I would start by taking you to the true downtown core of Montavilla, the Stark Street section, to our historic movie theater. So the Academy Theater has been here for a long, long time. Very charming, original marquee still up on the front of the theater. It's really fun watching them replace the letters of like what's showing. They do it a very tedious, old-fashioned way with a stick. So we'd start there. Like the cool thing about the Academy is, like it's locally owned, locally run. It's, so it's not going to feel like you're walking into one of these big chain theaters. But the thing that I love the most about these theaters is like, let's be honest, one of the best things about going to a movie is just like grabbing something to drink, getting something to eat. What's great about the Academy is they partner with a bunch of local businesses here in Montavilla to offer just really stellar concessions. So, of course, you get candy, you get popcorn, you get hot dogs. You also get baked goods from across the street at Bipartisan, so you can get cookies and Rice Krispie treats and other delicious treats. You can get sushi from across the street after a certain time of day. You get pizza from right next door at Flying Pie. So I'd go there. You also get beers from the 2 local breweries that are both across the street and, other local breweries.
And this is all at the Academy. You can get sushi at the Academy.
This is all at the Academy.
What?
You can literally walk in and order food and just sit down and eat or walk out with it. It's not like it's only open to people who buy tickets. We literally went and grabbed slices there the other day and then just walked around the neighborhood. So yeah, we'd go there. We'd check out a new release personally. That's my favorite thing to see there. But if there's nothing good showing that's new, they also do like a nice collection of, classic films. They have like this themed series that they run every month. So we'd start there. And then afterward, if we're feeling fancy, I'm going to cheat here a little bit. I'm going to suggest 2 different places that we might go just depending on the mood.
Go for it.
If we're feeling fancy, we're going to go right across the street to Yao Rat. It is Thai Chinese food in the style of Bangkok's Chinatown, which is called Yao Rat. It's just really interesting menu, flavors that you're not going to find anywhere else in Portland. Amazing cocktails too. It's just a beautiful space. It's got this like funky red motif inside that makes you feel like you're in like a swanky Chinatown district that like we just don't really have in Portland. So yeah, if we're feeling fancy, we're going there. Or if we just want something a little bit quick, we're actually going to head up to the other main drag of Montavilla. We're going to Northeast Gleason Street, and we're going to the House of Banh Mi. It's a family-run banh mi shop that...
Oh, I love the House of Banh Mi, dude.
I think they're the best banh mi's in Portland.
Me too. 100%.
As y'all know, I tried to convince you all that we should make banh mi the official sandwich of Oregon, and John clapped back at that with a pretty important point. But no, like House of Banh Mi is great. They're so nice in there. They're just incredibly friendly. Cool thing about House of Banh Mi is they're right next door to Bowie's Natural Tofu, and they actually serve some of the stuff that Bowie's Natural Tofu sells. So you can also get some of the best egg rolls in Portland while you're there. Just a really sweet family-run shop, delicious food.
What's your meat preference, real quick?
I go for grilled pork. I know that pate is the way to go with banh mi. I just do not like pate.
I always get grilled pork as well.
Sometimes if the place offers it, there's a Vietnamese meatball. It's basically like a meatball wrapped around a hard-boiled egg. If they offer that, I'll go with that. But yeah, grilled pork is good. But the cool thing about House of Banh Mi is they have like 14 different options. They're all, fantastically prepared. They nail that ratio of like pickled carrot and daikon to jalapeno and cilantro that just like... It's not a banh mi if you can't get that flavor profile right. So it's a little bit spicy, a little bit sweet, a little bit tangy.
Yeah. And I like that they actually slice their stuff real thin. Because a lot of people, they go too thick.
They put the big chunks.
And it hurts your mouth.
It's harder to bite through it then, and you wind up pulling some of it off. And it's like then the sandwich deconstructs while you're eating it.
It's a lot.
They know what they're doing at the House of Banh Mi. So it's like Yeah, I think I've convinced myself right now that this is actually where we'd go.
All right, where else?
So then I think we'd go just down the street from House of On Me to this really cool, really fancy looking neighborhood cocktail bar. It's a woman-owned cocktail bar called Blank Slate that I actually hadn't been to until recently, and now we've been a few times. It's just expertly crafted cocktails, a really weird, funky, delightful food menu too, and the space is just really beautiful, really well done. Weirdly, it also has Star Trek trivia,
So random.
which is like not what you'd expect. There's a Star Trek trivia theme in Montavilla. Actually, there are several places in Montavilla that do Star Trek trivia nights. But Blank Slate just spits out some of the best cocktails I think you will find in Portland, hands down. And just a really cool neighborhood spot. Both times we've been there, there's actually been this group of people who are just like hanging out at the bar. You can tell it's their neighborhood bar. They're just like sitting there, like shooting the shit with the bartender, like snacking on popcorn. They put up old movies on a projector in there. It's just a really lovely place to like end the day at, just to hang out, take your time.
This is Northeast Montavilla.
This is Northeast Montavilla. Yeah, I'm actually taking you to two places.
Cross the border.
I am crossing that railroad track, that proverbial railroad track, and going into Northeast Portland, but it's still Montavilla. So,
Yeah.
but this way you get to see the different parts of Montavilla. You get to see the different character that we have, because there is a slightly different visual vibe from the southeast part to the northeast. Like, we have a huge strip of businesses on Northeast Gleason. We have Southeast 82nd that has businesses all up and down, and not just restaurants, like used car dealerships, obviously, but all kinds of things on there. We also have part of Southeast Division Street, where we have some really cool businesses there, like a ton of just interesting restaurants, from, Iraqi food to some of Portland's best Chinese food to two really great bubble tea shops. Like, there's just a ton of things that we have. And so we're really spoiled with having all these different areas that you can go to and find a bunch of businesses in close proximity to one another.
Okay, well, let's take a quick break here. When we come back, some local hangouts in Montavilla.
Hey, it's John from CityCast Portland. It can be hard to check all the boxes on a family vacation. You need to find some fun stuff to do and keep the kids entertained, and maybe, hopefully, you and your partner can relax a little bit too. Well, you should check out Salishan Coastal Lodge by SCP Hotels. Salishan is the perfect destination for the whole family, with over 200 acres of coastal playground, all surrounded by old-growth timber and seaside bluffs. You can relax with daily complimentary yoga or a visit to Salishan Golf Links, designed by Oregon golf legend Peter Jacobson. And the kids can tackle a zip line at the only aerial park on the Oregon coast. Plus, they have dog-friendly accommodations with miles of trails on the property and a daily yappy hour with refreshments for both the humans and the pups. Right now, you can book a long weekend retreat to the Oregon coast and save 20% on your stay of 3 nights or more. Visit salishan.com/offers to book your stay at the Salishan Coastal Lodge by SCP Hotels today.
Two-time RuPaul's Drag Race winner Jinx Monsoon's star is burning bright. She made her Broadway debut as Mama Morton in Chicago last year, and now she's starring with her musical partner Major Scales in a limited 3-week engagement at the Seattle Rep in the show Together Again. Here's the scene. The sun has exploded and the world has been taken over by aliens. Jinx and Major aren't on the best of terms, tension, but they decide to put their falling out behind them for a final reunion extravaganza. Take a weekend trip up to Seattle and experience the comedy, music, and saucy stylings of 2 of the Pacific Northwest's most captivating entertainers. Catch Jinx Monsoon and Major Scales in Together Again at Seattle Rep, May 31st through June 23rd. Get tickets at seattlerep.org, and if you stay at the Maxwell Hotel, you can get a 50% discount on your parking when you book through their website and use the promo code SeattleRep. So where else do the locals hang out?
So I'll start with one that I actually hang out at a lot. It's Tinker Tavern. It's this really cool Buffalo Bills bar right on Stark Street. So like they play every Buffalo Bills football game during the NFL season. They also do Star Trek trivia
What
sometimes.
is going on with Montavilla and Star Trek?
People love it. They love it here. Like, you can walk into almost any bar in Montavilla and find Star Trek playing or Star Trek memorabilia or something.
It's really interesting.
But Tinker Tavern just spits out, it's a small spot, small menu, but it's just really good stuff. They have, like very cool, like East Coast staples, like beef on weck sandwiches, which I'm not even going to try to describe that to you if you've never had it, but it's just, go to Tinker Tavern. They have buffalo fried cheese curds, so like covered in, buffalo seasoning and like obviously buffalo wings because, Buffalo Bills, and like everything's great there. They always have 2 rotating boozy slushies and then like a really nice mix of local craft beers. And like my wife and I, we pretty much typically only drink sour beers, and it can be incredibly hard to find a place that consistently has more than just like one generic sour. They always seem to have 2 or 3 options, plus IPAs, plus all the, the standard fare that you want. But just really nice people. And the cool thing about Tinker Tavern was when we had that giant ice storm, back in the winter, it was like the only place in the entire Montavilla area that was open, and it was packed. Like every single person, not even in Montavilla, like people in North Tabor and stuff, were at Tinker Tavern hanging out. We were playing a board game with some people we had never met before because like it's just that kind of place. You can just hang out and take your time. We have, I would say, maybe the best farmers market in Portland. I'm going to throw a shot at the Portland State.
Bold statement. Oh my God. Okay, go on.
It's really cool. It's like, it's a very farmer-focused farmers market. So you're not going to find, except around the holiday season, you're not going to find people selling things that aren't, raised or made with ingredients that are raised on a local farm. They have a big emphasis on BIPOC-owned farms and farm stands. So you're going to find some really cool stuff there. Great produce, obviously, but also Creole Me Up, this Haitian, like sauce dip business. The woman who runs that is just hilarious. She's there every week. It's a weekly farmers market in the summer, bi-weekly in the winter. It's actually twice a week during part of the summer.
Oh, wow.
And it's dog friendly. Like, so people are always there with their dogs. There's buskers there playing music. It's just a really cool spot that's like right on Stark Street. People are hanging out there. You go even if you don't plan on buying anything because there's just always, fun stuff to see. So that's another place to hang out. Weirdly, I haven't been to this one yet, but we are lucky in that we actually have a public pool in Montavilla.
So you're basically saying this is where the locals hang out. Not you, but locals.
Not me. I haven't been. I keep meaning to, and I just don't go. But I definitely think I'm going this summer. But we have a pool at Montavilla Park. So it is a public pool, outdoor pool. It is always packed. That's one of the reasons why I haven't actually been, because
there's kids.
It's busy.
Yeah.
But I mean, like it's cool because especially in Portland, it seems like we've let a lot of these pools close or fall into disrepair, but not the Montavilla public pool. And they're actually, making upgrades to that park. They just recently installed new lamp posts because we had some really decrepit lamp posts in some of our best parks around the city. Montavilla Park was not immune to that. And so they're upgrading lighting there to just make it feel safer and more conducive to hanging out on our dark winter nights. And you always see people there, like at that park in particular, but especially the pool in the summer. It's just packed. It's a place that people definitely love.
I want to hear from other people who live in Montavilla. Like, is Bryan hitting it? Like, is this where you guys hang out?
Well, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
Is this where the locals hang out? Like, did you match someone being like, he didn't say this?
Well, okay, I will say there's this bar, Thatcher's.
Oh, okay.
It's a dive bar, but it's like a sports themed dive bar. I don't really watch sports, so I don't really go there, but it is like people are there all the time. It gets written up in like Willamette Week and other lists of like the best dive bars around the city. It's always packed. Like there definitely are people there, but it's literally just between like the Academy Theater and Tinker Tavern. That's the cool thing about Montavilla is like you're gonna find your group of people somewhere. Like there's just enough places here that you can go to that you're gonna find your vibe, your space that you like, that you feel comfortable in.
Yeah, just as long as you like Star Trek.
Yeah, that's the one requirement. You have to at least tolerate Star Trek.
Okay, so out of all the things that you listed, like the thing that is like rattling in my brain the most is that you only drink sour beers. I don't know why, but I can't get past that. That's a whole other conversation. I don't want to like steer us off the cliff with
we
just
can do
like
another episode later.
Brian, what are you talking? Like, Brian, I want to know the evolution of this. No one is just born a sour beer drinker.
No. There's an origin story there that I can get into later.
We'll do it. We'll do this later. Sorry, it's just that's all I can think about right now. Okay, so one thing I also didn't hear in your explanation of like places to hang out and places that locals like to go to is green spaces. Like, do you guys have any parks? Like,
I live across the street from one, actually. We have 3 medium-sized parks in Montavilla. With the exception of the Montavilla Park, none of them are like the traditional park that you think of that is just a dedicated park space. Mm-hmm. So I live across the street from Berrydale Park. It shares a lot with an elementary school. So it's like, that kind of park where it's like, it's hard to tell what's the park and what's the school. It's not the best park right now. There's just not a lot in the way of amenities. But as we've talked about previously on this show, it is about to receive a major glow up. It's getting a really cool looking skate park installed, pathways and lighting because it has neither right now, sidewalks on more parts of the park so you can safely get to it. We also have Harrison Park, which is next to the Harrison Middle School. Similar kind of vibe, like not a lot in the way of amenities right there, though it does have a pretty nice playground, but huge green space. And you definitely see people hanging out at both of those parks in particular.
Yeah.
One park that is not actually in Montavilla, but that we definitely claim some rights to is Mount Tabor. It is right there. You can see it from my backyard. Pretty much everyone in Montavilla goes to Mount Tabor regularly. It's so close. It's, I will say, the best park in Portland, and we definitely make use of that a lot.
Man, between this and
I'm throwing shots,
between this and the friggin' farmer's market, you're just like, oh my God.
And Blank Slate, I said they maybe put out some of the best cocktails in Portland.
I feel like you're going to start a Portland diss track. Someone is going to just come in and be like, actually.
The Unipiper is going to drop a Spotify link that's just like, no, you got this wrong, man.
All right, well, we've talked quite a bit about the positives. Now, what are a few of your personal, like, Montavilla gripes?
A big chunk of Montavilla is east of 82nd Avenue. And as anyone who has lived east of 82nd Avenue will tell you, the city of Portland and the county, Multnomah County, have not always paid attention to anything east of 82nd. Mm-hmm. There's just not a lot of infrastructure investment out here. I mean, we still have a ton of unpaved roads that, aren't necessarily the safest thing for kids to be walking on because then cars and kids are both in the street. We have some of the deadliest intersections in the city of Portland. That PBOT's solution to date, at least here, has been to put up these high crash intersection signs, but not really investing in things like, speed cameras or police enforcement. So we have Stark and Washington, which are both one-way streets.
Those are so scary.
They go way too fast down them.
And confusing.
Yes. It can be confusing because they're not always one way. There are different parts of the city where they're two ways. We have 82nd, which, as we know, ODOT basically abandoned for a long time. PBOT now controls it, so the city of Portland controls it, and they do have plans to upgrade it, but there's not a lot in the way of safety for pedestrians and cyclists. It's really a car-heavy road, but it's also terrible for cars. It's just it looks like you're driving on the surface of the moon.
Yeah. Oh man, everyone's unhappy. That's great.
I would say that we also don't have as much tree canopy as other parts of the city. So we are part of that urban heat island that happens. It's like us and Lentz and Powellhurst, Gilbert, and a few other neighborhoods out here along I-205. We get really hot. And then I would say I-205. It's nice that we're central, that we can easily hop on highways and get to places, but there's no denying that it contributes to poor air quality here. It's not the nicest neighbor to have. Mm-hmm. Another thing that sucks that I have sort of contributed to, I'll admit, is it is gentrifying. It is getting more expensive to live here. It is pushing people out. It is mostly single family homes too. So it's not, they are building more apartment buildings, more townhomes, things like that. They are doing this. There's a few projects that are going in just around me that are, going to put 4 or 5 units on a lot that would have typically held a single family home. But it is pricing some people out of the neighborhood, and that's really unfortunate because one of the coolest things about Montavilla is that it is so diverse, that you're going to hear people speaking Mandarin, you're going to hear people speaking Spanish, and if that goes away, then this neighborhood isn't really what made it the thing that everyone, including myself, wanted to move here for. So,
man, that is a bummer. I don't know why we're ending with the bummer section. We should have moved the gripes above. What am I doing over here? All right, final question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the deal with the name Montavilla? I hear there's a bit of myth associated with it, and I don't understand. Like, what's the deal with Montavilla?
So Montavilla, as you may have guessed, is sort of like a contraction of a few different things. I don't think anyone just randomly came up with the name Montavilla. It's not named after a person. The myth out there is that it is a contraction of Mount Tabor Village. That's a very popular origin story for the name of the neighborhood, but that turns out is not true. So a local historian, Patricia Sanders, dug into this a bit more, and the earliest origins of a name that she can find for this modern day area that we call Montavilla was a housing development that was platted in 1889 under the name Mount Tabor Villa.
Oh, I see.
Which got shortened to Montavilla. You know, one word is a lot easier to put on signs, on banners than three. So
technically you're more Mount Tabor neighborhood's little brother or little sister.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, like, you know, East Tabor, North Tabor, like we definitely butt up against them. I find myself in those neighborhoods a lot too. So yeah, you know, we can be siblings to a bunch of different neighborhoods. I would be cool with that.
Montavilla. There's more to it. And what was the other one now?
It's everyone's sibling.
Everyone's sibling, Montavilla. I love it. Well, Bryan, thank you so much for taking the time and repping your hood for us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Claudia. And, you know, anytime you want to come out and explore Montavilla, hit me up. I'm down to be your tour guide in the neighborhood that has more to offer.
Before we head out, I have a favor to ask. CityCast is doing our annual listener survey, and it would really help us out if you took it. And you can take it over at citycast.fm/survey. It's only about 7 minutes long, and that's citycast.fm/survey. Plus, if you take it, you'll also be eligible to win a $250 Visa gift card and CityCast Portland swag. Again, that's citycast.fm/survey. Even if you took it last year, we would be grateful if you took it again, since we can't really use that data anymore. Thanks, guys. Well, that's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.